What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of GGarage. If you're new here, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe, do all that nonsense down at the bottom. If you're one of my longtime guys or gals, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. So today we're going to do a little hot rod how-to on how I like to run brake lines, how to get the angles and everything right. I'm going to show you some pretty cool tools that I think is worth the money. Now, some of these, if you're just doing, some singles here and there, I wouldn't worry about it. I would go out and probably find, the little already pre-made, if you just know your length, and that would work. If not, these might help you. Now, little caveat, I know there's a million ways to run brake lines. You probably have a great way. If you don't like my way, write me a comment in the bottom, explain your way, point me to links, whatever you want. Always like to learn. But this is how I like to do it. Let's get at it. It's probably a good idea to first introduce how this system runs. You can see here that we actually have 3 cylinders. So we have 2 master cylinders for the brakes, 1 master cylinder for the clutch. This is a hydraulic clutch system, so that's why we have 3. Now, on a normal dual circuit brake system, you'll only have 1 master cylinder, but inside you'll have 2 internal reservoirs, one for your front and one for your rear circuits. This is a little bit different. So on normal hot rods, things like that, you have a proportioning valve, and that's the way you adjust your front and rear bias on a single circuit system. These, we adjust bias at the pedal. So this is a Willwood setup. There we go. So we have a balance bar on the brake pedal. All right. We adjust this nut over here. That turns this rod. And when this rod changes in length, the pivot changes, so we can add front or rear brake bias. We're gonna be working on the rear circuit today. The front's done. Here's our front master cylinder. We have a roll control here. So we plumb off of the front down into the roll control. At the roll control, we then have a left and right side circuit along with our brake sensor. So that just gets the 12 volt in. When you apply brake pressure, the brake pressure sensor then completes the circuit. That will pass the power back to the rear, and that's how your lights illuminate on brake. Pretty simple setup is the way I like to do it. It gets rid of all the nonsense of the other T's and everything else. So let's start with the left side, which is here. So I like nice, gentle curves, all right? They can be 90s as long as they're gentle 90s. So then we come down, that's the foot well right there. We come down, across, and then just like I said, gentle 90s. One up, and then this is a gentle 180 and straight in. We worked on replacing all these lines down here last video and got everything nice and clearanced. So it's the exact same thing for the right side. Nice and gentle. We run it across, nice and even, down, back down the passenger footwell, and straight into our pickup. The reason why you won't see any actual like coils or anything like you will see on like older hot rods and stuff that deal with, body movement, and actually like that's always built in there. So if the old frame on car kind of deals, not like, actual subframe vehicles, there's movement, right? So you gotta give it a little bit of flex. Well, our flex this is our flex. If the body flexes off the frame, this will separate. Whoop, like that. Let's jump to the rear real quick. We'll look over the rear. The rear is plumbed as well. Pretty much an identical setup to the front. We have GM rear calipers, so we actually have a parking brake. Now, these right here are routed a little bit differently. It is a geometric 10 mil AN line fitting. We have banjo down here. Well, to get back up to here and not cause like a bunch of weird stuff through here, we just kind of wrap it up, around, and back. The only reason this is not a hard line is because that caliper has just to move just a little bit under pressure. So that's why we run this. Nothing more, nothing less. Pretty simple stuff. And then we just have our AN to standard brake line fitting here with our little weld tab. See that? We go up, nice, easy. into our split block here. Now here, we just made a little template off of the quick change. Little tab there, bolted that through. Another nut cert to the other side. Same setup. This is a little close here, but it should be fine. I mean, it's got plenty of movement, got plenty of air gap, as you can see there. You know, it's about a 1/4 inch there. It moves a little bit, it moves a little bit. We can adjust. And then all that comes back into this T-fitting here. Another stainless line, comes up, and then boom, another weld tab right on the. How do we want to run this brake line? So, first thing we need to do to run this brake line is we need brake line, right? Step one, the big one. Well, brake line usually comes in a coil. And when it comes to coils, they become a pain in the butt. Well, there's a fantastic tool out there. Grab it off of eBay. It's not very expensive. I think I spent like 120 bucks on mine. Did I say eBay? No, Amazon, duh. And let me show you. So there's our coil, and this is our tubing straightener. Now the thing I like about this one is that it will do from this 3/16 all the way up to 1/2 inch. And that's the big reason I bought it, was because when I build out Dash 8 hard lines, it's a pain in the butt to straighten that stuff out. Now, you will get a little bit of curve here, but you know, it's easy to work with then. You're not trying to straighten out a 25-foot roll across cylinder or something. I'll show you how we set it up, how we use it, and just the awesome results we can get from it. All right, so please excuse a little bit of a messy table here. So what we do, you first get it, you're gonna kind of just hand bend it out, just get it, you know, not super straight, see, not super straight, just kind of there. And we're just gonna start putting some pressure on it, like that. Until we start seeing that we're actually gonna start. Oh, there we go. Kind of keep going back and forth. And keep going with it. All right, and there we go. Pretty darn straight piece of tubing to start working with. So now that we have this all straight, we need to figure out how we're going to run this sucker, right? Well, a lot of times it's just feeling it out for me. But now in this case, where we're already gonna have to put the line through the chassis before we actually run it up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna utilize an old tried and true technique of just some welding wire. My favorite is just standard TIG wire. Nothing fancy, it's just nice and easy. If you have some brazing wire, because that silicon bronze, that really like bends and makes it really easy and nice to form your template and everything else. So I'm gonna try to match the front circuit coming off the master as close as possible, but we'll see how that goes. At this point, I've snaked my brake tube down through frame and however I wanted to route through there. Didn't take you on that fun adventure. I don't think it was very much worth it. When you shove it through the underside of your vehicle, you'll figure out the best route for that. Try to stay away from hot thing, wear point. You should know by now. But if you don't, there it is. So, here is my piece of welding wire. All I wanna do is try to match that nice gentle 180 right there. So we just kind of have a uniform look and things kind of look together. So the way I like to do this is just kind of hold it there, right? And start trying to figure out where the bend is. And just start matching that bend. There we go, looking pretty darn close. We will probably tighten up this 90 a little bit. That's looking pretty darn good. Now that we have that, I like to make a nice run down the driver's side footwell. And that way we kind of still have that same flow, if that makes sense. Maybe I'll make another bend here at a 90 when it comes to the firewall. Then I'll make another drop down 90. We can't drop it straight down. The header's gonna be there. That's gonna be nonsense. You know what? Yeah, let's drop down about something like that. Then let's see, how far do we gotta go? Pretty stinking close, I do say so myself. How to best do this, right? That's the thing about this. It's just kind of playing around with it. You figure out what you need and what you really like. Now we know what our brake line needs to look at. So another very important thing when doing this is making sure everything kind of stays in line. It's okay if it deviates a little bit, but as soon as that thing twists, it starts to get really hard to work with. There it is. You see it? I see it. Now, let's make the brake line itself match. It's going to be a little bit trickier. We can't pull that off the car, bend it up, put it back, bend it up, put it back, bend it up, put it back, right? So we kind of have to do everything while it's in the vehicle. So, pitter patter, let's get at her. All right, comes to bending brake lines in hard to reach spots. We should probably pull this front end off. Are you gonna be dealing with the front end pulled off your vehicle? Probably not. So, I will do it with the front end on, as much as I dread it. So we have two brake line benders. Each one has a very similar purpose, but not always the same purpose. All right, like this one, you can get to do a nice 90. I know I've done it, but with this one, kind of make that sucker wrap all the way around here. See that? Now you say, well, Kai, if one will do all the way around and make your nice 180s, then why do you need the one that does 90? Can't you just bend this on 90? Then you're right, but sometimes it's nice just to be able to squeeze that down gently while you're guiding where you want that to go. So we don't get that wonky twist in there, right? We don't want it to twist all up when we're making it. Let's get down in the old trenches here and start really taking a look at it. How's that sound? Sound good with you? All right. So early on, when we made our template, we started from the master cylinder up top. Well, we really don't have that luxury now because we got to design this here, right? We got to mimic what we built out of the form into this brake line. The way I usually like to do this is when it comes to things like this, we are going to just kind of, we're going to hand bend this one real quick. We're going to pull it out this way, hand bend it up a little bit. We got a nice double bend. Those tools are great, but these can also be a weapon when it comes to brake lines. So we have to do a little bit of a rise here before we can actually shoot up to the master. The way we're going to do that, we're going to try and keep this as parallel as possible. We have, give or take 3 inches there. So we're going to come up about 3 inches and keeping this as parallel as possible. We're going to bend it at about 45 degrees. Oh, sorry to hit you. You went for a trip. All right. And we're going to shove it back in there. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Then we just got to adjust a little bit. Just like that. All right, going from there, looks like we're staying pretty good. So we got that there, and then all we need to do is come up. We're gonna pull it forward a little bit so we can get the bend up. Oh, see what I tell you, I'm not keeping everything straight. It becomes a pain, especially when we're dealing with stuff like this. This is hanging off a little bit because we're hitting the master cylinder up top. So let's move up to the top, and then we will do the whole zigzag zang. So from here, you can see the brake line we're working with, right? Here's our template. We need to figure out where the start of our next bend is gonna be. And it's looking like it's gonna be right around there. Now this one, we're pretty wide out in the open. I do like to use this. Pretty simple gadget. You hook into there. Now, the wheel is gonna dictate what side the bend is on, right? So if the wheel's on this side, we're gonna bend the brake tube over it this way, right? Just nice and easy, crisp 90. Now we're at this angle. Let's see how we're matching up so far. Let's cut this down real quick, then we will be able to actually insert this, figure out where we want it, then we can cut it back just a little bit more, right? Let's sneak up on this one. All right, so I snuck up on it, see where it's at, pretty darn close. Still got a little angle in that thing. Let's see if we can kind of just a hair, just so we can kind of keep them level. I mean, it looks pretty darn good. Goes down, hits the frame, got a little bit of a tweak there. Not too bad. Remember, this is just a template, right? It's meant to be a guide, but it doesn't have to be the final result. So now, all we gotta do, throw the old brake nut on here, then put a old double flare. Now with those, I know, you have the fancy Eastwood brake line tools and things like that. And although it would be nice to have, it's unnecessary if you're only doing a couple cars a year or something like that. The hand flare works just fine. So this is all it takes to flare a brake line. We have our actual vise that has the first flare in it here. This is the first section. This actually inserts into the brake line and causes the initial first flare. You can see there, yeah, it just goes down there. Once that has bottomed out, we remove that section, and then this is your final push down for the actual double flare. You can pick these tools up anywhere. This is a Napa. This is all you need if you're only doing a couple cars or just a car or just doing like a brake line every now and then. And the best part about it is we can actually do this flare. Woo, where you at? There you go. We can do this flare on the car versus the, $200 Eastwood or wherever you get it, brake line flaring kit. This is gonna be hard to shoot. I'll try to do this one-handed. So you can see how we're set up here. Now you might notice that we're off this a little bit. Yes, that's intentional. You see this lip right here? That is the offset that you want your brake line coming out of the mounting block here. We're fairly tight, got everything kind of set up, and then we just have to turn it. Step one's complete. We have the first section that initiates the first flare, bottomed out onto here. So then we can back that off. We remove the die. See, that just indexes inside of it. I'll also show you that first flare. You can kind of see it right there. See? It just rolls that over for the first flare, okay? It squishes it down, it protrudes it out, and then rolls that top down. You can kind of see. And the second part is, all right, once you get close, that will insert inside. Get this noted up, I'll show you. There you go. See that? Oh. That point just indexes back into that little bubble that we've created. And then we freaking go at it. Okay, there's that section. See how it created that? Pretty nifty. There we go. Two pretty darn accurate brake lines. I'm gonna get this tightened up now. Tighten that up against that, and then we'll be able to move on to the rear. You're probably wondering yourself at this point, Kai, you said that we had two of these, but you only used one of the last. Most of the time you used your hand. Yeah, that is true. I'm gonna show you when this one really, really helps. So as you can see, this opens up, the brake line goes in there, and you're able to apply a nice bend, right? Well, the other one, sometimes it gets a little too tight. This one allows us to get those nice, even bends that we need. No BS. It's just easy. It's easier to do it with this one here than it is for the other one. Nice little easy bend in there. See that? All we need, right? Now this is kind of sticking out a little bit because we're still dealing with this all the way through there. Now right here, what do we need? A little bit tighter bend through, kind of like right there. Nice little curved bend in there. There's that. Now we have to come up this way. Now it's a 45, but actually this one probably be the better horse to bet on. All right, there we go. Now all this still needs to be attached via a brake line mount. So suck it all in, we got plenty of room across the forelink. That will suck this all back in, nice and easy. And yeah, pretty darn simple. Man, it is ready to bleed brakes soon. Probably pull everything off, mask everything up, paint everything in here before we do any kind of brake bleeding, because that would be a disaster. Just want to say thank you again, everybody, for watching the videos, for liking and subscribing, the comments, they're great. And let's just do a quick recap, right? So tonight we learned about the tubing straightener, 2 different types of brake tube benders. Why am I like a robot? And the flaring kit. If you guys got any questions, just reach out, let me know, and I will do a more in-depth look if you'd like. If we want to sit down and get real dirty with how like the double flare works and things like that, we can do that as well. Bubble flares, 37-degree inline fittings, all that nonsense. Well, anyways, you guys know the deal. Please like, share, subscribe. Do all the nonsense for, you know, YouTube and the normal stuff everybody else asks you to do. Thank you guys so much for watching again. And as always, make it